And hello, all of my fellow nerds out there. It's Oracle Nerd Richie, and welcome back to Our Life Beginning and Always. Last episode we covered the charity moment, and this episode we're gonna jump straight into the drive moment. So let's go ahead and get to that. Like a lazy cat, you stretched your arms above your head and yawned, blinking your eyes sleepily. The day was warm and pleasant, and you were lounging on the couch in the living room, finding it difficult to do much at the moment. Your moms and Liz had gone out shopping, looking for some new items for your sister to take back and decorate her college dorm with. They had asked you if you wanted to go with them, but you declined. For you today was all about relaxation. Cove had dropped by to spend some time with you, content to join in with doing nothing. The two of you had been chatting idly as you lazed around, talking about the other things you had planned for the summer. You were sitting next to him, you sat on the couch while you sat on your own. He sat on the couch while you were fully stretched down on the other. You were stretched out across him as he sat on the couch. You were cuddling on the couch. Come, come, oh, come on, you can't expect me not to pick that. You had an arm loosely slung around your shoulders and his head dipped down against you, while you were nestled against his side, enjoying the comfort of his company. The day dragged on and you found yourself yawning more and more often between conversations. You had almost dozed off completely when suddenly a buzz rang out, disturbing the silence. Your phone was on its charger in the kitchen, so you couldn't have it couldn't have been that. Cove pulled out his own phone from his back pocket and checked the screen. His movement had jostled you, so you tried to readjust your position to get it right again.
Oh.
It's my mom. After leaning forward and setting the phone on the coffee table in front of him, Cove hit the speaker button. Hey, what's up? Richie's here too.
Hi.
Hi, Oh! Oh, she has her hair in a braid now! Oh, it's so cute! Hi, Cove. Hello, Richie. Kyra! Hey, Mom 3. Okay, that's actually kind of funny, I won't lie. Mom 3. You're interrupting our very important do-nothing time, you know. I hope you know you're interrupting our cuddle time. Kyra! Yeah. Hey, Mom 3. You knew your forwardness was making Cove regret putting you on speaker, but you were alright with that. Cove, baby, I wanted to ask if you have a plan for all your junk. Cove made a small, outraged grumble, giving you a sidelong glance. It's not junk, it's important. Though you couldn't see it, you could tell by the sound of her voice that Kyra was smiling.
Aha.
But is that a yes or a no about the plan? He looked over at you, his mouth pulled into a tight smile. I'm still thinking about it. Richie? I'm gonna take a phone off speaker so me and Mom can go over this. It'll be quick. Cove carefully moved you off him and took the phone from the table before pushing himself to his feet. He hit the speaker button again to turn it off and continued the conversation with his mom as he headed towards the door. The lock clicked behind him as he exited the house. He sank back into the cushions, idly trying to decide what to do next. After electing to grab your own phone from its charger, you resumed your position on the couch, tapping away at the screen. Your mind drifted away from the thoughts of Cove and his phone call with all the many ways your device could distract you. It was an effective enough way to kill time, and you had managed to do various little things when the door opened again and Cove returned. A small smile pulled at the corners of his lips as he shuffled over back to the back of the couch. He reached down to give your shoulder a soft stroke of his hand.
Hey.
I'm back. He put a hand over his. You stretched up to hold his face. You tilted your head and gave him a small kiss. Gazed up at him fondly. Is everything okay?
That's...
Everything's fine. Just He turns his head suddenly, running a hand through his hair and letting out an exasperated breath. He seemed nervous, but you couldn't imagine why.
Fine.
It's fine. Not anything to worry about. You raised an eyebrow to his tone, moving your head to the side to try and meet his eye. That doesn't explain what's going on. He shrugged and gave you a tight smile, trying to play whatever it actually was off as unimportant. There's nothing going on, just stuff I can deal with later, some other time. He was transparently avoiding the truth, and you stared back at him seriously, an indication that you weren't going to ignore what he was doing. Eventually, he broke beneath your stare, hanging his head in his hands and groaning. I need to make another trip to Mom's place. There's some stuff out there that I'm gonna use, so I'll have to go pick it up. It wouldn't make sense to ship it, and I couldn't bring the stuff back with me last time since I flew. Oh. Suddenly you understood what the phone conversation had been about. Cole was going to drive to his mom's house in Nevada. When will you go? Mom thinks it would be best if I do it now. Well, I'm still kind of free. But Cove pouted. Giving you an unhappy look, and you could see the prospect was already taking a toll on him. I don't want to. I was just there, and for even longer than usual. Why do I have to leave right now, when it's our summer like this? You laughed, not knowing why he was being so difficult about it. You thought it was cute he wanted to stay. You can hack it. I don't want you to go either. You shook your head affectionately. You thought it was cute that he wanted to stay. It showed how much he appreciated being there and spending time with you. Looking up again, you met his bright aquamarine eyes, feeling the sad smile tugging on his lips.
Oh.
Suddenly, his eyebrows jumped and his eyes lit up like a lamp. You could come with me. What? You should come with me. I mean, I get that two of us live next door to each other and my mom lives in another state. My trips are usually to spend time with her, just the two of us. But this time it won't be like that. All I'm gonna do is drive over, stay for a night, and then pack up the car in the morning and turn around again. Most of the time will be spent in the car, so it'd be good to have another person there. Plus, you'd have the chance to see my mom again and her place. Maybe we could even find something cool to break at on the way. You couldn't stop yourself from laughing at his enthusiasm. He blushed a little, reining himself in.
Please?
I just feel like it could be fun. Please, could you think about it? I want to go. A road trip sounds fun. I'll have to let my moms know. But as long as we've got nothing else important on the days we pick, then there's no reason I wouldn't be able to go. He grinned from ear to ear, thrilled by the news.
I'm so glad.
This is so great. I'll call my mom back and let her know right now. You spent some time together going over your schedules and making plans for when you could take the trip. You needed it to fit in around Co's work schedule, which he brought up on his phone to double check. Luckily, it was only a 2-day trip, so finding a couple of free days in a row wasn't impossible. It wasn't long before the dates were finally set and all the plans were made. You were content with the plans, nervous, unsure, excited. Oh, come on, I'd be excited to go to Nevada. A short trip sounded like the perfect way to spend some time. You could listen to music, eat snacks, and enjoy the open road. No matter what you thought about things, the morning when you were due to leave arrived. It was cooler than usual, the sun barely peeking over the tops of the houses. You stood outside your house, on the footpath near the road, waiting for Cove. You were feeling refreshed after a good night's sleep and an early wake-up. With your travel bag clutched in one hand, you watched as Cove finished packing up his car. He organized all sorts of things, water bottles, snacks, and who knows what else. Cove insisted he had everything under control and didn't need help. At least you could rest easy knowing that it was all taken care of. As you waited, you glanced over Cove's car. You knew it well. It used to belong to Mr. Holden, and when Cove had learned to drive, it passed to him. His dad had taken the opportunity to get a newer one. It was pretty old at this point, but had served both them well so far, so you just hoped it had enough life left in it to survive a trip as long as the one you were embarking on. The slam of a door closing made you jump. You snapped back to focus and saw Cove walking towards you. He dusted his hands off his pants and tilted his head towards the car. That's it. Ready to go? Yeah, I'm ready. He smiled and stepped aside, giving you space to situate your own bag where you wanted it. Once everything was safely inside, he glanced back at you.
All right.
We should get started. It's gonna be a ways to go. You would hug him. He seemed surprised, but he chuckled and returned the gesture. It couldn't last for long, though, since time was of the essence. The two of you climbed into the car and buckled up, Cove in the driver's seat and you sitting shotgun. His eyes moved to you.
Thank you.
Ugh. Thanks again for coming on this trip with me. Yeah, of course, it's no problem. After checking the mirrors and starting the engine, you pulled out of the driveway and the trip began. With a small sigh, you got cozy in your seat and watched the familiar houses in your neighborhood pass by. Cove reached over and turned on the radio. A crackle of static mixed with the odd snippets of a song filled the car as he flipped through the stations. Mr. Holden's car was in good condition, but it was, well, older. There was no way to plug in a phone to play music, so the radio had to do. Eventually, he settled on classic rock station before sitting back and resting both hands on the wheel. Is this okay? Yes, you know I like. Yeah, it works. You know I can't change it. I'd rather have it off. Yes, you know what I like. He smiled, happy with the answer. Time flew by and the scenery outside your window became more and more unfamiliar. Neither of you spoke for a good long while, but the quiet was comfortable. You had become all too used to each other's company over the years. Eventually, Cove broke the silence, clearing his throat softly before he spoke. It's been too long since you and I have spent some time with Mom. But I know she still comes to the neighborhood sometimes, but it's not even once a year. I'm always going to hers. I'm happy the two of us are doing this. Yeah, me too. Your elbow resting on the windowsill, you gazed out a world that was slowly coming to life as the morning rolled on by. The sun climbed higher into the sky. Luckily, the sunbeams weren't going right into your eyes. Hey, do you mind reaching back for me? Cole gave you a sidelong glance as he drove, indicating with a nod of his head and a tiny smile. I want some chips, the salt and vinegar ones. Cove, my boy, you know me too well. Bruh, dude, I honestly, salt and vinegar is one of the best flavors out there, and nobody can tell me otherwise. It's the best flavor. Like, I mean, yeah, I do like a dill pickle, barbecue. Sure, Cool Ranch Doritos maybe, but I like salt and vinegar chips more than anything. They're like one of the best flavors. That's a great flavor.
Right?
Eat whenever you want to. Eat whatever you want to. I bought a bunch of everything. Stretching out the seatbelt to give yourself space, you twisted in your spot and reached out into a bag holding the snacks. It took a bit of effort to sort through the collection of goodies stuffed inside, but eventually the bag of chips crinkled beneath your fingers as you pulled them out and sat back in your seat. Here. Thanks. Do you mind opening it? His eyes lit up at the prospects of the snacks, and you shook your head in amusement, popping the top of the bag open. Poured a few chips in his hand, you held the bag open towards him. Want me to feed them to you? Held the open bag towards him. With a smile, he dug into the bag noisily, picking out a couple of chips between his fingers and popping them into his mouth. The sound of crunching and rustling filled the car as he reached over from time to time, taking a few more. Ultimately, he elected to drag out an entire handful at once, losing a few of the chips on the floor. After that, you rolled up the top of the bag and stowed the chips safely in the bag again. When you turned to the front, it was to find Cove crushing the fistful of chips into his mouth, crunching loudly. He went his hand down his pants and absentmindedly before gripping the wheel and spilling crumbs all over the floor, all over the place. You're like a little kid. You laughed at that. How can you eat that much at once? I'm impressed. You had no reaction. Let's just say I'm impressed. Calvin mumbled through his mouth of chips, giving you a brief thumbs up. You smiled back, shaking your head at the amusement of his antics. The hours drifted by much the same way as that, with the two of you snacking and chatting as the day stretched on. It was fairly calm and quiet, traveling along the open road, and you found little in the way of your interruptions. At one point, you passed a "Welcome to Nevada" sign, and Cove gave a tiny cheer. He was in disbelief that the two of you were seriously all the way in the interstate like this. Eventually, you had to stop for gas and made a detour at a small diner to grab a proper meal that didn't consist of chips and candy. After refueling both in the car and your stomachs, the drive was back on, just as the sun began dipping beneath the horizon and bathing the sky in a wash of orange light. Cove informed you that there wasn't too much longer left to go. You were almost there. It took shifts throughout the trip. I think that's fine. The route was fairly straightforward, and you've had enough practice with driving to feel comfortable doing so. When night eventually fell in a blanket of darkness, the drive finally came to an end. Cove pulled into the parking lot of Kyra's apartment building, the glow of the car's light disappearing as he turned off the engine and let out a heavy sigh. We made it. We're here. The two of you exchanged tired smiles, having successfully and safely completed one half of the trip. You were relieved to have actually arrived, and eager to get out of the car and stretch your legs. You took the stairs up to the building together. After a knock, you were abruptly met by a flash of green hair as Kyra opened the door and immediately took her son in her arms. There he is, my gigantic baby boy. She squeezed him for a moment and then pulled back so she could examine his face. Are you even taller than the last time I saw you? Cove gave her a fond look as she patted the top of his shoulders proudly. You say that every time I'm here. It doesn't even make sense right now. My last visit wasn't that long ago. Kara simply laughed before letting him go fully and ushering the two of you into her apartment. Then she turned to you with a wide grin pulling on her lips. Richie, it's so nice that you came along with. Did I read that right? It's so nice you came along with, and as a bonus, you both arrived in one piece. Yeah, it's good to see you too. It's been a long time. Kara beamed at you both, and while you would have loved nothing more than to settle down and rest after the drive, you could see she wasn't going to let you go that easily. So, how was the trip? I admit I was just a pinch worried. Barely made it. I appreciate your concern, but it was alright. You felt like fussing was unnecessary. You let Cove answer that. I appreciate your concern, but it was alright. We made it without a scratch. Kara clapped her hands together, the bracelets around her wrists jingling. I'm so proud. I can hardly believe how mature you both are. Where did all those smarts come from? Cove ran a hand over his hair with an awkward chuckle.
I don't know.
Maybe I got them from my parents. His mom looked up at him deeply, her eyes glistening as she shook the sentimentality off with a wave of her hand. You have to be half asleep already, huh? I don't want to keep you up much longer. Early morning at any whoosies. How do you want to deal with the sleeping arrangements? I've only got my own room and Cove's, though the living room couch isn't bad. Richie can use my bed. I'll just sleep on the floor in the room. It doesn't matter for one night. Kara laughed out loud and startling you both. You raised an eyebrow at her outburst, giving her a quizzical look. Oh yeah, you'll just stay on the floor. You couldn't handle that much back when you were 13, with both your parents in the room. Cove blushed a dark red and gaped. completely unprepared for her to pull out that embarrassing moment from the past.
Hey!
Mom! He's had a long day. It's cruel to tease the poor boy so late, even if it's true. Yep, she's right. That's totally what you do. You were annoyed. She knows he's sensitive. It was uncalled for. You put a hand on Cove's arm to show support. Honestly, I'm laughing right now. I probably would have laughed it off. You blushed. Was it really necessary to talk about this? Thanks for letting me have the bed. Cove offered a small smile.
Don't worry about it.
No problem.
So...
Would you be okay with me sleeping on the floor in the room? I'd rather be there than out in the open living room, even if there is a couch. Yeah, you can sleep there. Kara giggled softly, drawing your attention back to her. All funny stuff aside, you need to get some sleep for tomorrow. Seems like you're setting yourselves up to not get any. I know that sounds really captious, but I'm a mom. I have to say these things. Come on, we're not little kids having a sleepover. We're responsible adults, right, Richie? Well, I am. Cove, though. Yes, very responsible. No, we're not. Cove is, though I can't say the same for myself. He simply smiled at him. Maybe you should sleep in the living room after all. Yes, very responsible. She gave you two a suspicious look and stood up straighter, trying to prove her point. I'll leave it at that then, for now. Just remember that the walls are thin in this apartment, so you can't settle down and sleep. So if you can't settle down and sleep, I might have to separate you. We'll be good.
Marvelous.
Perfect. Kara clasped her hands together, her bracelets softly tinkling against each other again. It's only getting later, so I better let you prepare for bed. She nodded towards the hallway and gave you a small smile. I'll play hostess for a sec and show you where the bathroom is first, Richie, and where you'll be staying the night. Thank you. You hoisted your travel bag over your shoulder and followed behind Kyra down the hallway. Cove shuffled along behind you, disappearing into the bedroom whilst his mom had to go to the restroom. The apartment was small, but nicely decorated in soft, cool colors, with plenty of artwork hanging on the walls to give it character. So honestly, I'm not sure how anyone can live in an apartment with so many differently colored walls. It kind of bothers me, but at the same time, I really like it. It was stylish and exactly what you have expected from someone like Kyra. After being shown the bathroom and wishing Kyra goodnight, you head to the room and found Cove already there. He had changed into his sleepwear for the night as well and set aside his glasses already. Looking around you, you found the bedroom to look much the same as the rest of the apartment, but with small ocean elements you were sure Cove must have enjoyed when he stayed there. All in all, the room was pretty and clean, though it almost looked more like a hotel guest room than a bedroom. Cove only spent a few weeks out of the year there, so it made sense that it wasn't especially lived in.
So?
Oh. Okay, I love this pajama design. It looks so good. What do you think? It's pretty nice, huh? Mom always keeps it clean and everything, even when I'm not here. It really looks like a hotel room. That's sweet of her. You nodded. It's a great room. Cool. I'm glad you like it. He seemed pleased enough with the response and gave you a small smile before opening the zip on his bag. When you went back to the room, you jumped in the bed and under the covers, just as Cove was shuffling into his sleeping bag on the floor. You waited until he was settled in before he flipped off the lights, and soft glow from outside peeked through the blinds, casting shadows over the floor. You closed your eyes, blocking everything out.
Night.
Night, Richie. Night, Cove. Sleep well. The room grew quiet as the two of you wound down for the night, and you found yourself listening to the sounds of the city outside the window. The noise out there was so different from what you were used to back home. Cars zooming past and people are out having fun instead of crashing waves. And the ocean winds cocooning your house in their embrace. Cove shifted around in the sleeping bag, making the fabric crinkle loudly. I've outgrown this thing. I should have checked it earlier. But the trip was kind of short notice. Why don't we share? It's big enough. Cove inhaled deeply, the fabric of his sleeping bag crinkling loudly as he fidgeted beneath. I told my mom I was going to stay on the floor. You frowned, wondering when that had ever stopped him before. Did you really plan to going through with that? No. He hesitated a little, the silence stretching between you. You couldn't help but smile to yourself. You knew him too well. The sleeping bag rustled again, and through the dim light you saw him stand and head towards the bed. He took in a deep breath as he ran his hand across the top of the blanket, gathering his nerves and his eyes met yours. And then he paused, head tilted to the side, as if he asking permission. It's all right. He shuffled over to make room for him as he pulled the bedding up and crawled beneath the covers, leaving the two of you close together, but not quite touching. He exhaled a heavy breath as he laid down on his side, his head getting comfy in the pillow next to yours. You had a strange feeling in your stomach, like it was doing a little somersault, but it felt good to have him close. He raised his finger and delicately brushed the tips of your cheeks, drawing a shaky sigh from your lips. His touch was warm and feather light, making you feel tingly all over. When his eyes met yours again, you found yourself lost in them. The world becoming still and silent around you. Then he froze, his muscles tensing as he closed up like a clam and his breath hitched in his throat. He attempted to whisper something, but it was completely lost on you. Without having to suffice as a warning, Cove jumped out of the bed and crouched on the floor, his head held in his hand as he took a few deep, stuttering breaths. You bolted upright in the bed, staring down at him with a mixture of alarm and bemusement. Are you okay?
I'm always like this.
I thought it'd feel like it did before, when we were younger, but it's different now. I'm sorry, Richie, really sorry. I'm just so... He panted deeply in and out, as though he had just finished running an entire marathon. After finally steadying his breath to a normal rhythm, he crawled back into his sleeping bag and huddled down on the floor, his back turned to you. Sorry. You understood, you were disappointed, amused, not pleased, kind of flattering, you felt embarrassed. You usually needed at least one trial run before he usually needed at least one trial run before he could take that kind of step forward. I'm not surprised this happened again. You didn't say anything about it. Thanks for trying. You don't need to apologize. We can always try again another night. He made a small noise, acknowledging that he heard you, but said no more. With the event over, you laid back down in the bed alone for this night. The next day dawned, brightening it with the sounds of birds chirping happily outside the window. You opened your eyes slowly, letting them adjust to the light as you tried to recall where you were, remembering the unfamiliar sight of Cove's second bedroom. You woke up on your own, you reached over to turn off your alarm, and said Cove had nudged you awake. You woke up on your own. Yeah, I'm pretty self-responsible. The early morning sun filtered through the blinds, telling you that it was about time to get out of bed and start getting ready for the day. The sound of Cove shuffling around the room drew your attention, though you weren't surprised. He had always been a morning person. Sitting up in the bed, you let Cove let out a yawn and stretched your arms above your head. You're still pretty groggy. You felt okay. You were quite refreshed. Yeah, I felt okay. Considering the long drive the day before in the late night, you were feeling ready to get the day started. Though you weren't as perky as him, his energy was infectious. Good morning. You pulled yourself out of bed, grabbing a fresh change of clothes and your toiletries before heading to the bathroom. After all that, you met Cove back in his room. He was sitting on the floor when you entered, sorting out a bunch of stuff in a box, determining what to bring and what to leave behind. Hey.
Hey.
Can you pull out the stuff from those drawers? You nodded, though he hadn't even looked up from his task, so you knew he wouldn't have seen. Heading over to the drawers, you start the task of taking out various items and setting them on the ground in front of Cove. After a while, it became clear to you that Cove was acting strange whenever you went near him. He was flinching over your presence. It happened a few more times before you couldn't take the awkwardness any longer. You dropped the stuff that you were holding down in front of him and raised a questioning eyebrow. Is everything okay?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry about last night. Again. He quietly squeaked the second part of his thought about not staying in the bed with you. I know you try not to mind or be mad at me, but I wish I didn't have to make you accept me backtracking all the time. He swallowed thickly, struggling to find the right words to explain himself. I do think it felt nice. Really. It's just also not bad, but good in an inconvenient way.
I mean...
Laying together like that, being so close, it gets too hot, you know? His cheeks flushed with color, and he immediately trailed off, his eyes firmly fixed on the floor. I get it. You'll stay the whole night next to me next time, right? It was that intense for you, huh? Maybe I'm the one who should be apologizing. I'm sorry to bother you. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's what I signed up for. Do better next time. You're not in acceptance. It was intense for you, huh? Maybe I'm the one who should be apologizing. His eyes widened, a pink tinge creeping into his cheeks before he could duck his head enough to hide it. Don't worry about it. You don't need to do anything. Let's get back to packing. With it more or less resolved, we went to grab some more items as Cove focused on the box in front of him once again. Oh, hey, look at this. When you turned towards the sound of Cove's voice, you found him digging through one of the drawers beneath the bed.
Neat.
Here's something I definitely need to bring. Neat. Craning your head, you got a better glimpse of what he was holding. An old yellowing book. When he opened it up, there was a few dried pressed flowers between the pages. Those had to be gifts you'd given to him for his mom's place. Something for him to remember you by and take his time more here less lonely. To make his time here less lonely. He kept them the whole time. You don't have to hold on to those forever. I was only lending you those. I think I'll take them back now. He joked. It's adorable that you cared so much about them. You started to feel emotional. Of course, you should take them. It's adorable that you care so much for them. He sighed, glancing between you and the items in his hand. They bring back some good memories. A faint blush of color crept over his cheeks, and he looked away quickly.
It's nice.
These are special. It was important having a piece of you with me when we were apart. I feel the same way. That's why I gave them to you. Ko smiled, pleased that his feeling was mutual, but then the expression became more amused. And did you keep the souvenirs I brought back? Nope, he said jokingly. No, he said honestly. Of course. His grin grew to completion. Thanks. Another hour passed by in silence, and you were happy to see you were making great progress in Cove's room, with only the closet left to sort through. You took a minute to take a mouthful of water from the bottle you perched on the edge of the bed, feeling productive. Cove glanced over at you and paused, putting down the tape gun he had been using to seal up his boxes. You raised an eyebrow. You know, it's really strange to see you sitting in this room. Why? He frowned a little, his eyes distant, his voice quiet when he spoke next.
That's...
During the visits to Mom's, when I was sitting alone in this room, I'd sometimes think about how you weren't here. If it was a weird feeling at the time that you just weren't around, and now that you're here, in this exact place, I don't know how to explain the feeling. He shrugged it off and smiled a little, as though he'd said enough already, and didn't want to risk sounding silly. Life is pretty confusing is all. That's true, life makes no sense. I didn't know you thought about me when you were away. I miss you so much when you were gone. You smiled at him. I miss you so much when you were gone. His brows crinkled as he looked at you solemnly, his eyes bright with emotion. I miss you too. All the time. It made you feel better to know that somehow. To know that when you were stuck at home missing his company, that he was missing yours too. He looked away satisfied, heading over to the closet and the last of the items to be sorted. Before long, every box, closet, and drawer had been thoroughly combed through, with the items either neatly packed in boxes or organized and returned to the proper place. With a sigh of relief, you glanced around the room, the work you had done together.
all right.
We're done. Good job to us. I'm gonna change out my PJs for the drive. Yeah. When the two of you headed to the living room, ready to get everything finalized and hit the road, you found Kyra in the kitchen, pouring a cup of tea. Cove headed towards her, leaning casually against the counter that divided the two spaces. Hey, you didn't have to get up so early.
Come on.
Are you crazy? Of course I have to see you up before you go. You can't sneak away while I'm out cold. She beamed at him, and in all honesty, he seemed more than happy to be up and get ready for the day. Do you want some breakfast? I've got some muesli or eggs and toast. Oh, and some of that fruity cereal you used to love. But that's okay. We should really eat on the road. Kyra smiled sadly, a little disappointed, but she seemed to understand that your time was running thin. I thought you might say that. In that case, I packed you some snacks for the road.
What do you think?
Even if you don't end up eating them, take it anyway just in case. You can always feed them to Cliff when you get home, and tell him I said hi. Cove laughed and shook his head, knowing his dad would love nothing more than to polish off whatever food Kyra had prepared for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom. You really didn't have to. Thank you for the snacks. That was nice of you to organize this for us. It must be a mom thing to know stuff like that. I'll definitely eat whatever you packed. You smiled quietly at her. It must be a mom thing to know stuff like that. Kyra smiled before resting her gaze on Cove fondly. One of the many pleasures of being a parent. She returned your smile with one of her own, before putting her cup of tea aside. Well, I'll help you get the car packed.
Sure.
Thanks. The three of you got a move on, taking the boxes from Cove's bedroom and heading down to fill the backseat of the car, until there was barely an inch of space left in the back of the trunk. With all of you helping, it only took a couple of trips to move everything, and you were done before you knew it. When it was truly time to say goodbye, you convened back inside the apartment, where Kyra looked over the two of you with a quiet smile. It was great to see you both. Thank you for coming. She gave you each of you a hug, and you felt a little sad that you hadn't been able to spend more time with her. It was good to see you too, Mom. Cove embraced her in return, the two of them holding onto each other for a few seconds longer. I'll miss you, but I'll visit again soon.
Of course.
You better. Hey, we should make plans for you to visit us too. I'll let you know when it's settled. I'd love that. Kara bundled all the stuff she prepared into the bag and handed them over to you. You took a quick peek at what she packed. There was fruit, nuts, seeds, hard-boiled eggs, and some veggie sticks.
Cool.
Oh, good to see we got some fresh food options now. The snacks I brought weren't. Kara shook her head at him and let out a soft laugh, as though she wouldn't have expected anything else. I seriously hope you're feeding yourself better than that at home. Yeah, of course, just not on trips. I can live with that then. She looked over at him fondly, her eyes at last focusing on his face and filling with emotion. I'm going to miss you, baby.
Me too.
Thank you for letting us come. We'll all be together again before you know it. I hope so. Kara put an arm around you both, pulling you in tight to her sides for one final squeeze.
Bye.
Have a safe trip. We will. With a last goodbye, you exited the apartment, though Cove hesitated for a moment in the door, and his expression distant. You weren't sure what he was doing, though you tentatively took a step towards him. Everything okay? Your voice seemed to bring him back to earth, and he shook his head to clear his thoughts, his green hair swaying from side to side.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go. And with that, the two of you headed back down to the car, ready to make the long trip home. Soon enough, you were on the wide open road with a car full of Cove's things, and the only destination, Sunset Bird, California. Wait, I wonder, is that actually a real place? Okay, yeah, it's not actually a real place. It's just a fictional place for this game. Huh? I didn't even think that, to be honest. I didn't even think if it was a real place or not. The drive went as smoothly as could be expected, with the morning slowly creeping into midday as miles flew by. After a while, you switched places with Cove and took the drive for a couple of hours. The day flew by in a whir of open road and sunshine. Before you knew it, it was early afternoon. By that point, you had already crossed the state line. Cove announced that he planned a little stop on the way home. He was quite pleased with himself as you arrived at the precipice. The Redwood National Park. Oh boy, here we go. Shaded beneath the canopy of enormous redwood trees, you drove along. When Cove parked the car, you pushed the door to get out, and the first thing you did was look up. Enormous redwood trees surrounded you on all sides, their massive trunks shooting straight up to the canopy of the foliage overhead. There were too many of them to count, stretching on and on as far as you could see. You squinted against the sunlight as that was peeking through the leaves and dancing on the paths around you. It's great, right? He smiled at you from over the roof of the car, glancing around the place fondly. Remember the trip our families took here that one summer? It was cool going on a journey and seeing the forest in person, even if we didn't stay for very long.
So...
In case we can stay even less this time, but oh well. It just seemed like a good time to stop by. Who knows when we'll get another chance. His voice got a little softer at the end. It seemed to be bittersweet for him, being in a place that he was so fond of, but not having the time to appreciate it fully. You're pleased to stop here. You're feeling pretty good about being there. You didn't mind either way. You would prefer not to stop at all. You were pleased to have stopped here. It was a beautiful place to stretch your legs and take in some fresh air. Thanks for bringing me here. There will be more chances in the future, I promise. It's better than taking a break at a gas station. I'll put up with you for the trees. I'll put up with this place for you. You said nothing about that. There will be more chances in the future, I promise. Cove smiled, shoving his hands in his pockets and dipping his head. Oh, whoops. Seems like I skipped something. I'm gonna hold you to that. The two of you walked around for a while, completely dwarfed by the sheer scale of the redwoods. It kind of put your view of yourself and everything in a strange perspective. You took in a lungful of clean forest air, listening to the sounds of birdsong and cool breeze rustling through the underbrush, taking advantage of the space to move around freely. However you felt about being there, it was a totally different scene than sitting in that old car for hours and hours. You felt Cove nudge your hand, you took Cove's hand, you wrapped your arm around Cove. He took Cove's hand. He seemed tense at first, but he didn't let go. Eventually, he intertwined his fingers with yours, slowly relaxing. Being here again, he couldn't help but reminisce on what else had happened during the trip you had taken here all that time ago. There were a lot of things that reminded you of it recently. You looked over at Cove, who seemed to be lost in the peace of the place, if you wondered if any of it crossed his mind. Smiling at the sight, you thought back on what had been the highlight of that long-gone vacation. We spent the night in the loft together. Elizabeth teased us mercilessly on that trip, remember? Our families were so close. Remember how the bird stole your dad's lunch? You hadn't forgotten the classic anklet chat. Remember how a bird stole your dad's lunch? Cove instantly started laughing at the memory of the bird taking off with Mr. Holden's sandwich. After all these years, it was still a once-in-a-lifetime sight. Poor Dad, he could never catch a break. We continued chatting about the trip a little while longer, about the things you had seen and done and even eaten. A lot of memories Cove had of the trip were similar to your own, but you were also surprised to hear of a few other things from his point of view. So much had happened that there was no shortage of things to talk about. The place certainly had nostalgic quality about it. Hey, Richie. You looked over at the sound of Cove saying your name to find him smiling at you, seemingly relaxed amongst the nature of the park. Has anyone ever told you before that you have gorgeous eyes? Because you do. The words left his lips and you froze, completely taken aback by the compliment. He blushed and quickly dipped his head, unable to look at you. That's another thing that happened during the trip. Your eyes are much more beautiful. You put a hand onto your forehead pretending to swoon. I can never forget. You can't just say things like that with no warning. You find it difficult to hide your blush. You're so sweet. Your eyes are much more beautiful. You bit down on your lip as you gazed at his aquamarine eyes, admiring the different blues and a hint of green that swirled in them. Your spirits were light as you ambled past information boards and picnic tables. But before long, you decided it was time to bring the short stop to an end and head back to the car to get on the road again. Cove sighed when you finally reached the vehicle, jangling the keys in his hand before unlocking the car doors.
Well,
I wish we didn't have to go, but we're going to be responsible and not stay longer than we should. How grown up of you. He smiled slightly, and with that, the two of you jumped into the car, buckled in, and he put it in drive. You were getting closer and closer to town as the sun started setting, though you were still far you're still far enough away that the radio stations were unfamiliar to you. Cove twisted the dial this way and that before stumbling into a channel with a song that he seemed to like. There was a rare gift of the fates in the sea of static, strange radio jockeys and grating tunes. His face immediately brightened at the sound of it, and he drummed his fingers along with the bottom of the steering wheel, happily. Sitting back in his seat, he bobbed his head and shimmied his shoulders in time with the tune, all while mouthing along with the words. Occasionally, he lifted one hand from the wheel to gesture with his fingers for a specific line. He smiled, chuckled softly, shook her head, sang along, ignored it. Come on, why wouldn't we sing along? Cove raised a pleased eyebrow at your vocalization. Emboldened by you, Cove decided to speak the words rather than lip-syncing. Your voices mixed together, slowly creeping louder and louder as you belted out the words of the song. Every now and then, a word would be sung wrong, by the end, you were both laughing too much to continue. The song ended, and Cove reached over to start cycling through the radio stations again. Upon finding nothing tolerable, he flipped the dial off in defeat and leaned back in his seat with a sigh. You rested your head on your hands and stared out the window as the sky darkened, watching the landscape slowly melt into more familiar views. Miles went on, and the energy he had earlier was beginning to drain away. You imagine home and your family. You'd be together soon. You know, I've spent all these years living in Sunset Bird and taking a few weeks each summer visiting my mom in that second room. That's not gonna happen anymore. Not really.
I mean,
I can still see my parents, but the way it all works between us has changed. Forever. He paused, the silence stretching, a serious look settled on his face, his thoughts far away. You said nothing, you should lighten up. You feel the same. I feel the same about my parents too. I'm worried about how things will be in the future. I'm excited to be on the brink of real adulthood. I'm worried about how things will be in the future. So many things will be different. I hope I'm ready for... Cove's mouth pulled into a tight line, and he gave you a small nod. You got the feeling that he understood how you felt. Cove stared straight ahead down the long road. The path looked like it never end from where you were, but that wasn't true. Eventually, he found a few more words to say.
I'm so glad.
I think it's good that we were able to do this trip without any parents or chaperones. It was just us. We did it all. I don't know, I feel a little more independent now, a little more ready for what's ahead. You didn't respond to this. I'm not sure if I'll ever be ready, right? I felt ready for a while now. It's exciting. The topic seemed to wear on Cove, and he made an attempt to find something else to speak on. So I'm kind of sad about getting back. I'm gonna miss having you right there tonight. His eyebrows dipped, and he laughed at himself in embarrassment. That sounded way more forward than I meant to. It's just nice when you're nearby. You let out a little chuckle at yourself, and the atmosphere became more relaxed, the two of you falling into a comfortable silence. The sky outside grew even darker as the hours passed by, the stars blinking on like tiny fireflies painted on a canvas of blue. The scenery continued transforming between open roads, industrial areas, and beach towns, becoming increasingly recognizable as time went on. You felt somewhat disconnected from the world around you as you watched it through your window, your tired mind growing hazy. It was strange and it was a strange reflective feeling, but peaceful nonetheless. Soon enough, the world would return to you, and you'd find your feet firmly on the ground. It couldn't be helped. The adventure would end, life could continue, but your memories would linger on. Oh, that was a pretty sweet way to end it. Okay. I do want to continue and end the summer there, but I kind of have to end the episode here for now, guys. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like, comment what you think, share this video with your friends, and be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a single notification. I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye.
You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason